excited because they know they're going to lose. And so that's a really, really good thing to have in your back pocket all the time, knowing that. You want to confirm the key contacts, who are the contacts? You want to find the service line managers. You want to find the director of the echo lab, medical director. You want to find the lead sonographer. Now, there's a lot of firewalls, a lot of time before you'll ever get to the cardiologist. But, a lot of times it's that sonographer, or if you're in other parts of the hospital, they're all friends, some of the managers of the lab and stuff. Ask for the introductions, find out what they're doing and where they're doing an echo. In an echo lab, it can be very, very high end. Like if we're at the Mayo Clinic, I trained up at the Mayo Clinic for many years. And, in that lab in Rochester, Minnesota, believe it or not, there's 160 echo machines in that lab. If you can believe that, and you have 100 sonographers on staff and about 50 cardiologists. So, find out what kind of lab they have. Is it a very, very basic lab, or is it a lab like Dr. Vazina's that's relatively high end with 9 systems where they have a lot of stuff going through that? So you just ask those questions, and we're going to actually, at the end in the back of your book, there's actually a list you're going to go down and it'll have some of these questions, and that's why we printed these out, so you actually have the ability to go back and reference this. The current fleet, okay, the machines that they have, like the Philips really has a lot of the market. They're about 60% of the market share, actually. And so, but about 40% of the systems that are out there that are Philips are end of life already. They're calling IE33 is the name of the machine. And those things, you can't even get parts. People are buying them off the internet so they can put them in the basement and have ready parts when it breaks. So those are really, really important things to find out, because then we can put things together, some of the revenue recoveries, all the different things that we talk about at Guardsman and with you guys. It's really a big deal to be able to do that. Patients are getting bigger. They're just not getting smaller, right? And the one thing that we can do, and again, we'll talk about that, and Elizabeth's going to bring the machine in. We're going to be doing live demos. We're going to be scanning just so we can show you this. You can put your eyes and your hands on it so you can understand. We make it easier. The ability for us to go in and scan, if you get a better picture faster, you get better results, you get better data, everything goes smoother. So at the end of the day, we've got studies out there now that just because of the better image quality, not having to go and do the contrast with the IVs, and we can actually bring the time that they actually do an exam down. Because as soon as they put the probe on there, they get better pictures, then they don't have to battle to find a better picture, right? So not only that, but it makes the sonographer feel better. They feel better because they're getting better pictures to send to the docs to make sure that they're doing a better job. Very, very big deal. Cardiology contacts.
Dave, just 1 second. Dave, you had a question.
Reached out to teaching schools with this technology so that we're better.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
70% of all clinicians at VAs are at the university hospital as well, or are coming right out of the university hospital and doing their residency at a facility. And so if you train a young kid, 5 years later, he's back in the VA, and he's going to be asking, where's my camera?
We target, particularly now, we target the high-end hospitals. In particular, the information that we can learn from the system is better than what's out there today. And so we not only go after the high-level institutions, universities, and the big hospitals, but we also go after in schools and the college program that actually train in sonography. And so we have a pretty pointed program to go after those places, because if they have 100 people in their class and they have our system in there, so when they get out and they ask the sonographer, what do you like? Well, whatever they use, right? And so they're going to want to do that. So we have a really, really good program to go after that. But you need to do that. You need, at the university level, find out if they have a school of sonography. We'll go in, we'll do some demonstration, we'll do a technology overview for that, we'll do what's called the Healthy Sonographer program. There's all kinds of opportunities for us to really, really do well in that particular venue. Yeah. I have a question.
So what is the ability to keep the machine updated? And so this could be the case with technology. And the reason I ask that is because Telecam, if we walk into and it's specific to VA. You walk into a VA and they just bought Siemens or Philips 2 years ago, run and go out because you're going to be spinning your wheels. The VAs, they're going to drive whatever it is and the wheels fall off. But I think a good selling point would be able to say, you take that, everything that what you had before, it died. The good burial, but keep in mind, it was not just replaced with technology anyway. But our machine has the ability to continue to be upgraded for X number of years or whatever.
And that's a great question. The capacity of the system will be upgraded because it's all software. Years ago, when I first started designing an ultrasound machine, we would actually have transmitters and receivers and all of these things. We come in to do a demo. We would show them all these things. The next time they upgrade, they come in with a box of parts and we send an engineer off for a couple of days and it's upgraded. This system is all software, literally all software. I mean, there's a couple of hardware things, but I, on my computer, have the updates for the last couple of years. So the longevity of the system is really predicated upon the user ergonomics and the ability to use the machine and make sure that it's designed well. And we'll go through that. In fact, Elizabeth will talk about it later. We have this, what's called Healthy Software program. Now, we work with the ergonomic people in the ASC and in the ultrasound in general, to where there's 35 very specific ergonomic points that want to hit. And so we actually check all 35 of those boxes. I'm going out there that do that today. And so there's a lot of that in the background, but absolutely the upgradability of the platform is a huge thing. And we've got one of the best ergonomic systems out there. So again, this last update that Dr. Bazina talked about, it's called 8.5, and you're going to see some of that today with the new 3D TE probe. Again, it's all software. With the definitely probe, I mean, that's different with the software to drive it. We didn't have to change anything. We didn't have to pull anything out of the machine. It's really just a software tool.
So just to make a point here, and Gary asked me that question earlier to just tie those two things together about the expected life of a machine. When you go in and you assess the fleet that they have, in general, it's 5 years. It's depreciated over 5 years. So if they do have systems that are 2 years old, it's still early in the cycle, right? But on average, what they'll do is that 20% of the fleet will be basically renewed every year. Because if you take 5 years, 20% is every year. That's what you renew. Now, there's a growth factor. So if an average practice has 8 machines, when you go in, you have a shot at least 2 machines to be replaced and probably an additional machine for growth, because there's a growth factor there. So when you're looking at how many machines they have and how old they are, you can look at where they are in their cycle. And the ones that are closer to 5 years, they're the one that will drop off. They're an easier target. Plus, what are your growth needs? For trade-in, we do have a trade-in partner called Remedica Partners. So if they have equipment, we can trade it in and optimize the value. Remedica is based in Indianapolis. It's a world-based platform with real-time data on value of second-hand ultrasound equipment. So they know exactly what type of machine is on demand in different part of the world in a real-time fashion. So for example, I was talking with our partner yesterday, the day before, and Riley was like, hey, do you have any of these machines? Because right now in Eastern Europe, they're really looking at buying secondhand of that type of machines with those features because they don't have as much money to buy brand new systems and they have stuff that they can upgrade. So that has higher demand. So you can optimize your trade-in. So often the trade-in, when you go back to the big companies, GE, Philips, and Siemens, they will lowball people. They will really go like, as little value as possible so that they can actually gain a delta in value, right, on the trade-in. But with Remedica, we really optimize the value on this so we can actually get back to the customer more. It's okay to take a little cut out of it, but ultimately it's to bring more value back to the customer to allow us to actually replace the footprint with a camp cut. So that's a unique feature that we have through the trade program. So even if they're newer, doesn't mean that we don't have a shot at it.
And how likely is it that they're gonna replace
to something completely different.
Now, that's usually how it happens. So what doesn't happen is usually you come in and you replace everything. Like, that doesn't happen. But here's the beauty of it. The beauty is once you did the hard work at first and you get 20% of their system and maybe 25 with the growth. Then the next year, there's 2 or 3 more that will come up for renewal. If they like the machine, they have a year of experience, then they transition. That's how Philips was able to actually get such a larger space in the footprint of all equipment right now. Because they had the best system 10 years ago. 10 years ago. But people adopted it. And then they were like, oh, there's nothing better. We kind of like it. So we'll get 2 more, and then we'll get 2 more, and then we'll get 2 more. Next thing you know, we got a full lab out. So that's how we're going to be able to take away market share from these guys by coming in, getting a presence, supporting them better. The support from the GE, Philips, and Siemens is usually not real. This is a big advantage. Once the sale is done, they usually disappear. And because the quality of their manufacturing is not as high as hand, most of these guys, they manufacture through third-party contract manufacturers. Right? They just send the specs and they have them do it, and it's shipped from there. Canon sources and manufactures everything in-house in Japan. So the quality of the equipment, the build is completely superior to everything else. The GE, the Philips, and the Siemens that I dealt with, the buttons broke all the time. All the time. The probes are always broken. The crystals are dropping. The trackball is sticking. These machines are used, right? 10, 12 hours a day. You go in the patient room, out of the patient, this, that, and the other. You need a very well-built system. That box is really well. So that's the opportunity. Just to tie it up.
No, absolutely. I mean, and that's critical. The ability to be able to turn those systems around after they use them. And to your point, when you go in with the first couple, then that becomes their big machine, right? And so sometimes it even accelerates the replacement of some of the other machines because, like in the case with Dr. Bazina talked about earlier, I mean, we're finding things that they can't find with the other machines. And so as soon as the doctors start to figure that out, and go, well, did you do it on the Canon machine? And you didn't go back and do it on the Canon machine. So it's a really important point. So we got to find these people inside the hospital, non-invasive cardiologist, key decision maker. The sonographer, on the other hand, is also a key influencer. Usually the doc makes the decision at the end of the day, right? But very heavily influenced by the sonographers. We all have a saying in the field, no doc, no deal. You got to get a doc behind you on this stuff. It's really important. A cardiology matter, sort of the go-between there. So that would run the ultrasound department, might be echo and vascular, could be all the different ones. Yes.
The cardiologist in most, I know they're not in the VA, but is cardiologist in this the economic buyer?
Yes and no. It's an economic buyer, particularly in a smaller practice where it's coming out of his pocket or her pocket. And some of the bigger institutions, not so much. Price is still a factor for sure. With the ability for us to show them where we do better, like the contrast, not having to buy the contrast, and the ability for us to do less repeat study, right? So we get such good image quality right away. Not only does the exam happen quicker, but it also doesn't happen the callback back. So that's a big deal. So there's a lot of ways to set that, but in generalities, the smaller labs, more of an economic buyer. As they get a little bit bigger, it's more about quality and throughput in those kind.
And the VA, they're going to be the cardiologist. Cardiology is probably going to be the champion that takes this to CPRC.
Right.
And they know that one of the questions on that form is going to be, what is it replacing and how much is it a savings?
Absolutely. Well, and again, just, when you go through and look at it, it's the contrast, but also the repeat exams and the VA, in particular, the wait times. A lot of time, not having to come back, having to get back to in the queue again to come back and have the scanning done is a big deal. And a lot of time in the VAs and even in some of these bigger hospitals, They have really, really old machine, 10, 12, 14 years old. These stoves that I've been talking about, they're 15 years old. They suddenly don't take pictures. But at the end of the day, they'll send by sign of them. They're not going to win. And that's why they don't like to come and do a service, because we're going to pretty much clean their clock.
On commercial accounts, right, just to give you some data, on commercial accounts, the return on investment, the time it takes to pay for the box, based on Medicare rate, is about 3 months on an average usage. So cardiac ultrasound is a profitable center for a private cardiology practice. If you go to a private cardiology practice and they have outpatient there, and they will do cardiac ultrasound if they have a clinic, right? Because that's not something that requires a big setup like X-ray or, advanced like procedure. So in most private cardiology practices, you have a shot there. These outpatient clinics, they do really well, and 3 months to pay for the machine. So it is a profit center. And if you actually sell that a better quality system that allows to do study faster and increase their throughput, then you have an edge. You definitely have an edge, especially if you reduce the time that the system will be down. I've had cases using the other vendors where my machine was in the corner off for 2 weeks because the transducer was broken and I couldn't get a new one, because I couldn't get in touch with the Philips rep to help me get a new one, because they could not care less. The sale was done and they were gone. So I had a piece of equipment sleeping in the corner, not used, because of a gap in service. That's not going to happen here. Because if there's any issue with the system, we have the best support from Canon. Can you tell, John, can you tell us a little bit more about the Canon technical support?
Sure.
That you can provide the service?
Sure. So, technical support, we have several levels, right? We just implemented a new level, actually, at a technical support desk, right, that they can go to. We dispatch our field service engineers. We do have some that are in the field that are just ultrasound only, but most of them are cross-trained across modalities for geographical reasons. We also have another level on top of that, which is our national sales and support level. That if they get tripped up with any type of issue or a bug in the software or something like that, it goes to actually that level as well. And they provide that support either remote phone to the service engineers, or they will actually come on site if dispatched if needed. So very, very comprehensive service. We actually, one of the things that I think that we were known for in this business was the service. I worked for 14 years prior with Siemens. And one thing that I was concerned about at the time was if Toshiba didn't put a unit in my area, because I was in the Dallas market at that time. And if Toshiba put a CT in that market, it would smother them with that post-sale service, and it would grow from there. So on the service side, I think we're known for that, and we have a fantastic. In fact, when I take you on the tour later, there's a group that's in this week for X-ray training, right? So our service engineers come in routinely for additional training. They're all in there today, and there may be some biomed hospitals as well. They're joined in with them. They're going through an X-ray training class. You'll see one of the groups that's actually part of it. So constant training, constant support. The help desk has been fantastic. The new desk that they're utilizing, been manning 24/7 with an ultrasound person, and that's been very, very well received.
Here's
Just in the last 3 months.
Here's the other thing that we're going to support from the clinical side of things at Guardsman. When they have issues with the system, they can call us directly. I can pick up the phone and help them. If they have, if they don't remember, hey, how do I do this? Where do I find that function? I use those machines on hundreds of patients. I scanned the patients myself during COVID, because we didn't have any technicians. They all retired or left. So I did the whole work. I know how the machine works. Michael knows how the machine works. All our sonographer support clientele sales know. We will be available to answer their questions. And if something is not working fine on their system, we'll take responsibility to get things going and communicate with Canon and make sure that things are in motion, that we are not in a
I
situation.
forgot to add too, we do have remote support too. So
And you do have remote
we
support.
Remote into the system. That really depends on facility. If they're gonna allow or not, you know, I think the VA is a little more stringent on that, not allowing it.
I think there are instances where I've seen VAs, open up their guest Wi-Fi or all of that, if that person needs it. It will not happen on the DoD's.
Yeah, the DoD side,
They're very bad.
yeah,
But having the support and be able to resolve your problem, I know exactly how it feels to leave a machine in the corner. That's not gonna happen. If I have to send you a probe overnight because it's not, you have an issue with the probe and it's not working, you're gonna get the probe. Like, the system's not gonna sleep there. We'll figure it out later, how to resolve this, but you're gonna be working with.
and we do have a program called R Support too, that we actually trialed. It was a license that we've worked with for our applications. Mike, I don't know if you ever used that or.
Yes.
And that's actually coming to a commercially available product as well that we're working on. So that will actually help with the application. So if you are away and your tech needs help with something, Elizabeth, Mike, anybody from the clinical side can actually remote into the system as well, you know, through the Wi-Fi as well, to get in and to actually work with them and make changes on the fly and look at their systems. So, but that's coming next as well. We did have applications in a box too that we trialed recently. We'll actually send the Pelican case out to a site that actually has an applicant in it. It has a connection device as well, you know, laptop, so they can actually go on from their site and Teams call to an application and actually help with that. Well, that one, it took off a little bit slower, but it was well received in some instances. Maybe like for like Hawaii and things like that, where we weren't able to get there quick enough. So
I think the message here is know that there are extended support capabilities attached to the system through Canon's internal structure and to Guardsman's commitment to make sure that your equipment will be up to.
What are those value adds that are selling these contracts?
Well, some of the services that John was talking about, they're upgrades.
yeah, under warranty, under service contract, post sale, so a little bit of both.
But every system comes with a full year warranty on transducers and systems. Gary, you had a question?
For the sonographer, and specifically with SMI, what's the learning curve on that? Is it?
Elizabeth, what would you say?
We're gonna. So, the time, but, the one on the system. Very optimized, very quick user learning curve.
So a bit more things on warranty. Have you done the market analysis on the competitors' products, what they're offering as warranty and what yours is?
Yeah.
Of course. Are you the same or are you longer?
We're better in a lot of instances, and we're the same, right? We have a Chinese company called Mindray right now that's more prevalent in the Pacific Northwest. They have a 5-year warranty, right? That
You don't need to worry about them, they're Chinese.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah.
We pop up. It's pretty easy to punch holes in because it's no transmission warranty, no.
Let me explain stuff like why it's important that warranty is longer. When you do when the contracting officer does the price analysis.
Yep.
And they're receiving bids on echocardiogram. If you have a longer warranty than what the statement is for, they'll actually subtract dollars from your offer, like a percentage of your offer based on every extra year of warranty you offer for your products. It is capital equipment. So
So you talk to more like on the bid.
yeah,
I mean, I don't see this not getting bid out. I don't see it, coming off the FSS, at least I.
Characteristic that we differentiate ourselves from Jeeps and Phillips, like an extended warranty or these service programs. If we can get the cardiologist champion that's gonna put in this BPA, and we can help them write those salient characteristics so that no one can match it.
Yeah.
That's the key.
They'll literally they'll take your flyer and cut paste right into the same, put it in the benchmark.
Sometimes we fill those out with our.
Yeah, we do all the time. I mean, that's why I hired the people I did. It's even our full government team. We've got a lot of employees actually working. Familiar with it, so even on the ultrasound side, we did a program called Patriot package, right? And that actually provided additional applications on the site that, until they were satisfied, right? There was a lot of like our competitors like GE, Philips, their application side is a separate P&L, right? So they're making money from that side. On our side, we didn't have that ability, so we actually rolled into some business, so we were able to provide that Patriot package, which really was well received in the go. Do you have, because some of your stuff is proprietary, are you training other repair stations to repair the equipment, or does it have to come back to you? Like in-house five things like that? And yeah, I'm thinking about, I've got a capacitor that goes out now, I hope for describe. What, like, can I send it to my local medical, repair facility? Because I'm looking at all the opportunities in front of me. Most of them are repairing. Mm-hmm. And so that brings up another money generation line for all the salespeople in here, and that is when you need parts and service, does that have to come back to Canon, or they may send it out to a little bit? They could send it, when you're under warranty, right? Yes, everything usually goes back to Canon, but after that, a lot of the VA facilities don't do their own service, right, in-house. And not that I know.
Yeah, funny, it's probably not gonna judge that.
Now, you'd be surprised. And like the portal lectures, we have a lot, actually. Yeah. So, I mean, but flexibility. So, I mean, absolutely, you have that option to do that. Even the sites that we do have biomedical, that actually does. Systems, they'll come here and they'll attend the classes with the folks. And if it's any stuff, you'll actually send the trainer there. Do them.
I really thought of putting together like a traveling ultrasound that is provided as a service, like audiology will come to the VA in a large van, and once a quarter, the veterans can come and get all of their testing for hearing aids and different services. And the VAs are so overloaded with patients that they use those services almost like a community care network, but it comes on site. So I don't know if that's something that could be portable, and then you charge for the service, you get the reimbursement as a community care network, but it's a way of differentiating.
Yeah, we have not looked into this angle. We have not, but it's an interesting.
Relationships to ask if that service would be valuable.
Yeah, to explore that if they would respond to that. Right. Is it a capacity issue? Is there more than an equipment issue? Is there a capacity issue?
They were whatever it may be, and then they can open up those rooms for another modality. That might be beneficial as well.
Ultrasound, because of the size of it, and the one that we have, right? So you have different versions. Sometimes, they could be shipped from place to place very easily, be it a van or anything, then actually stored in the closet, or using a hybrid type of room. We have some rooms that have a UR magnetic strip, right? For doing chest X-rays and extremities. Ultrasound. or two days, should have reported it when he needed, if he's not doing it, or that's it. Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something we could.
It could be something where we partner with local cardiologists, independent cardiologists, and explain to them and teach them how to become part of the community care network. And then they buy more device for their system, but we're showing them how to get additional revenue through the VA by becoming a provider in community care network and being reimbursed through Optum. And 106% of Medicare, by the way, as a community care networks provider. So you're actually bringing them patients in exchange for them using your equipment. And we can show them how to do that. I think there's something I'm going to look into.
That's a very interesting angle.
Very distinguished versus Siemens, Philips, and GE.
Would you like a box truck? But step up. We work with a lot of it.
Stand on wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we, our business as well, on the ambulance side, we're putting a lot of like CTs, putting head CTs in there to really reduce the time for stroke, right? And they go out and if they do a CT, they can see that it can, I'm trying to think of the drug, but they actually, it's a clot moving drug, right, that they utilize, while they're actually in the ambulance. So it saved a lot of people from paralysis and things like that, long term. So there's always an option.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on a little bit here. So, you know, with respect to going into the labs and talking to these folks, I mean, you know, we have these in your books here, so I'm going to go through very quickly. But, you know, the ability for you to be able to answer some of the questions I ask you, you know, particularly with the technically difficult studies, these people that are really, really just hard to do, lots of them in the VA in particular, you know, how many systems and how many images are you doing and how many patients? It's constantly adding more patients, right? And so the ability to get through them quicker and be able to get the better pictures using some of the AI designs that we have in the system that does things automatically, and it gives you a lot quicker turnaround, but it also gives you better quality. The quality at the end of the day will support. And as Dr. Vizini discussed, you know, the data is king here. You want to be able to have that. A lot of times you're going to work in and you're going to ask if they ever had any scan ultrasounds before. And the answer is probably no, right? So that's good and bad at the same time. It's good because there's no baggage. It's part of that, right? It's good because we're going to be able to go in there and show them something that they just can't see with the other machine. But that is a big deal. You know, again, this whole thing is about getting the demo, making sure that we can get in and show them the instruments and show them how well it actually works. That's something that's going to change it. You know, Canon presented by Guardsman Scientific, it's never had a better or a more clear advantage. I mean, precision imaging, big deal. Diagnostic performance and efficiency, ergonomic excellence, those are things that inside the lab, which sonographers are going to be looking at, doctors are going to be looking at. They want to be able to see the best results from what they do. You know, we talk about, you know, imaging precision, you know, the beamformer, right? Talked about that a little earlier with the flashlight in laser deployment. The ability for us to get these images in patients that otherwise would not be able to be scanned is a huge deal. And particularly in the VA, but in these tougher places, that's it. I mean, even up at the Mayo Clinic, we are putting a system in the Mayo Clinic down in Jacksonville. We were in that lab for an entire week where we were standing with the Philips and the GE machine, the newest, latest, and greatest that they have. And this is a lab that never had a chance to see Canon ever. Right after we were there for 2 days, they're talking, okay, this is the Mayo Clinic. We've not seen this machine yet. You just kicked everybody's butt. You know, how did that happen? You know, so that's kind of thing we want to do. We want to make sure that we're going to be going up to Rochester where we have, you know, 100 to 150 systems up there. We're going to be there for probably almost a month. We got to hit all the care areas. We're going to go to pediatrics. We're going to go to the stress lab. We're going to go to the valve clinic and all of these things. This is something that we're going to do all around the country. So we need you guys to be out there knocking on those doors. Get us in. Once we get in, we're going to be fine. You know, so get us invited to the dance and we're going to dance. So just keep us going.
Like you had on the previous slides with the ergonomics. It's huge. I mean, when you walk in and you ask that, it's not for our scanning in pain. It's amazing because you're scanning and patients are getting bigger. So you're scanning all day with that list. It's amazing how many sonographers have carpal tunnel syndrome, shoulder problems, and go out on long-term disability because of it. So just actually going in, and that's another Trojan horse when you're going into that site, to sit there and say, let's bring in our clinical team and show you that. Whether you do it through a Teams call or anything, you can go through those different things, the ergonomics of the system, and also how to prevent yourself from certain stretches, certain things to do. It's really, for us, it's been a game changer. I mean, that's your Trojan horse. You're not going in there saying, hey, I want to sell you a new system. I want to show you something that our system does differently, and lead with that. And that usually leads to more of the demo and more of the stuff that SMI and other things that Mike is mentioning. And it's we've actually adopted that over in radiography. The healthy sonographer is trademarked too, right? For Canon. We just trademarked it for healthy radiographer too, for the Canon side, as well for the radiography side. So I think you have both, and it really makes a difference. And it is really a way, so you're not viewed as that salesperson who's just trying to sell them something. When you walk in, you're coming with that solid approach. It does work.
Yeah, great. It's bristly also.
A couple of things. And so the imaging, the precision is obviously important, but again, on this system, we have sort of the best of the best. And again, I've been working at cardiac echo since it almost started, right? And 2 times in my life that I've ever been able to go into a lab knowing that you're going to win. And this is one of them, right? And before at GE, we did exactly the same thing. We had a new technology that nobody else had, and that was sort of fun. It was almost an unfair. And the same thing here. So just get us in the lab, and we're going to be doing well. We use raw data on the system. When the raw data is just this.
Can you go back? You can touch on the YouTube. Pretty significant.
Well, Mythbusters, and I did a lot of time, but usually I showed that. If you just type in Mythbusters CPU versus GPU, it's very, very cool. So it goes from a CPU painting a smiley face to the GPU painting a Mona Lisa. Okay, it showed that dichotomy between the two. It's awesome. And a lot of times you go out and do these kinds of talks of technology overviews, I'll actually link up to that and let everybody see that. Maybe even later on today, we can pull it up. It's pretty easy to do, but that's a really big deal. It's sort of fun. And it drives the point home of how important a graphics processor is. Oh, absolutely. I should show it all. It's pretty awesome. Raw data. Raw data is the actual, remember Dr. Zeta talked about the waveform that goes out, bounces off, something comes back. We actually store all of that information that comes back in a raw data format. So it's almost like a virtual exam where the patient never goes away. We can go in later and add end mode. We can go in and change the gain. We can change all the same data the patients are getting. So if you're in a really, really bright room and you turn all the gains up to be able to see what you're looking at, the snowstorm, and then you get back in the reading room in the dark, it's okay, right? So we have the ability to change all of those after the fact. Nobody else can do that. GE can do that. They have raw data as well, but they don't have what we have, the ability to go ahead and use like lateral gain control. And a lot of them don't want to go in the weeds on that, but this is a really, really important field. You have to be able to talk to them about that. Diagnostic performance and efficiency. We've talked about that. Dr. Vazina pointed that out. You know, the ability for us to see things that otherwise cannot be seen is a really big deal. We do that a lot of times in pediatrics throughout California and Rady Children. We were using a 22 megahertz hockey stick probe to look at a baby that was 600 grams. Baby would fit in your hand. They have Philips and they have Siemens and they have GE at that lab. None of them could see what we saw with those little babies. And in fact, while we were out there, we saved a couple of little babies because we could see things that they couldn't. The doctors came in and did what they needed to do to take care of those kids. So again, you know, this is sort of you're drinking from the fire hose here. You're hearing a lot of stuff, but you know, get us in and then you'll spend time with us when we're doing the demos and get better at it and know stuff. But always feel free to call anybody on our team and be able to go through this with you. If you think you need more specific or more detailed training in this, then we can put Teams calls together, spend some time to really go through that. And a little bit later, you know, Elizabeth's going to have the system in here. We've got somebody to stand that back. John's daughter is going to be our model. We're going to stand her so you're going to be able to see all the things that we're talking about and how impactful they really are. Ergonomic excellence. She's going to go over some of the ergonomics of the system. It's literally the best. Not only do we have the best imaging machine, but ergonomically, it's one of the best out there. And again, partnered up with healthysonographer.com. There's a website for that with Jim Baker. And she is well known throughout the industry as the ergonomic guru. So again, we work really, really closely with these folks. And, we want to bring the best to our customers. We want to bring the best imaging to the patients, these physicians and these sonographers. Healthy sonographer, John talked about that. We do that a lot. We used to use that as a way of getting our foot in the door. But we didn't do a healthy sonographer over lunchtime, buy some pizza for the lab, go through it, have the machine there, and then we get to show them all these beautiful pictures. Everybody start to play with the machine. You know what? We get it done a couple of months later, just to come in and show them and hopefully get the business from these folks.
Interesting to ask people safety.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so none of their other benefits. So they should call the mobile Zand.
Just real quickly, historical reviews. Now, Philips has been around for a really long time. It used to be HP, and then that went down. And so this is sort of the timeline. Again, the stuff's in your book, so you can take a look at. So you just know sort of if you're walking down the hall and you see one of these systems parked out there, you know sort of where they are in their timeline that Dr. Vazina talked about. Accuson was the original thing. Siemens bought them and completely ruined Accuson brand name, which was one of the best at the time. But again, been around a long time, and now it is actually, part of Siemens, and the Origin is their newest system that they brought out, which is nothing more than the old SC2000 that's been. So again, if you hit some of these lab where you're hearing some of these things, reach out to anybody on the team, and we can get down in the weeds with you to give you more information, baseline, whatever it takes to be in front of your customers to help. We'll be there for that. Our GE historical review. 98, GE acquired Mingman in Diasonics, and before that. So this is where my career started out of the military back in the 80s. I started with Mingman in Norway, and we built all of these. That was one of the very first machines that we did, and they kept going on. Vivid 5. These were all Macintosh-based systems, and then we switched over to PC after that. We probably shouldn't have done that. That was before popular, and we probably should have stayed. But anyhow, this is really important that they have, just groundbreaking different technologies. They were the first ones to use raw data, and they still use it today in all of their devices. And one of them has advanced raw data on our system, one of the things that they did. So if you have a GE account that you're calling on, that's probably one of our fun targets to go after, because we can show them what they're using now and say, well, just think about what they on steroids. You can't do those fine until you show them what they're going. Okay, so those are the fun things to talk about. We're going to move over now, I guess, to take a little bit of a break, and then to the clinical part of this with Elizabeth and who everybody will chime in. I would thank you for your attention. Yeah, a couple minutes here, right?